morning. I'm Cantor Joanna Alexander. We're here today to remember and to celebrate Beverlee. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be. To be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing. A holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. At this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that bring us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? What we are like a breath. Our days are like passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, Return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood where we are going, and when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. Adonai, you redeem the souls of your servant, and none who trust in you shall be desolate. The child asks, Tell me of life. And the sage answered, Life, my child, is a mystery. We do not ask to be born, nor do we even understand the meaning of birth, of creation. We grow and we experience life's pleasures and pains. We love, and slowly, oh so slowly, we come to realize that we have become, that we are. At that moment, we humble ourselves before the mystery of life and quietly say, Though I knew not, I have been granted the most precious gift of all, the gift of life. And the child asked, Tell me of death. And the sage answered, Death, my child, is a mystery. It is the inevitable return of the gift of life, the gift which came free to us. We live as the trustee of that mysterious being, of that unexplainable becoming. Yes, you and I are but the trustees of life. We nurture it, we delight in it, we give of it to others, and at the appointed time we sadly, yet with pride, return it from whence it came. The beauty, my child, is that what we are, what we have become, remains long after the gift has been returned. It remains as a precious keepsake with our loved ones who live on. I invite Howard to come and share some words about his mother.
Welcome. Thank you all for coming. It's comforting to be surrounded by family and friends. Mom was one of a kind, an intelligent, independent thinker, loyal and devoted wife, loving mother, faithful friend, savvy businesswoman, and tough as nails. How she maintained the life balance she did was remarkable. Could be said I was a bit of a mama's boy, needing a lot of attention. Probably from my early days all the way through to the end of her life. I needed a mom. I can say without hesitation, Mom was always there for me with unconditional love. The sacrifices she made for me and her family will never be overlooked or forgotten. I put a little history together of Mom. Born in Omaha, she had two brothers. One died in the war. The other one she didn't like very well. Her dad spoiled her rotten, which explains a lot throughout her adulthood. Very close to her aunts and first cousins. She went to college in Lincoln, was very attractive. I got my good looks from her. I had to throw that in there only, it's still all about me. Got married to Dad, had 3 children, one perfect one, and Terry and Mark. She was a great mom, favored me as she should have. Hobby could do no wrong. A devoted and caring wife. Mom cared so much for Dad when he was dying of cancer. I remember we were out to dinner. Dad ordered a steak. Mom told him he had to order chicken instead because the steak was too high in cholesterol. Poor guy was dying and Mom was still monitoring his diet. She had lots of friends. She loved them and they loved her. Growing up, we lived in a neighborhood where everyone's doors were always open. Right, Edie? Skip? Alex? The adults would have house parties and all the kids would play with each other. It was like one big happy family. One morning, Mom was coming home from taking a bunch of us to school, and her car broke down. Mom hadn't gotten dressed and was still in her nightgown. Alex Legg, the neighborhood leader, happened upon her. Looked things over and said, "Bev, I'd give you a ride home, but I think the neighbors would start talking." I loved Alex, Edie. He was like my second dad. She loved playing golf and bridge. She played golf into her late 70s, early 80s, and bridge into her 90s. Mom was always reading books on how to get better at both. It needs to be said, as nice as Mom was, she could be equally as difficult. She judged people, places, and things, and if they didn't meet her standards, she would cross them off her list permanently. And I definitely mean permanently. You knew you were in trouble when she started pointing that notorious finger of hers at you. I've seen her take apart the best of them, including myself. Seth referred to her discussions with him as lectures, of which he received many of them. Her favorite place to put on a show was at a doctor's office. If they weren't board certified or from Mayo Clinic, they were fighting an uphill battle that they weren't going to win. Last, Mom was a very sharp businesswoman. Dad's name is above our door to this day, but make no mistake about it, Mom, although someone slightly in the background, was very instrumental in getting our family business started. She helped Dad buy merchandise and also was on the sales floor. Mom was always looking for deals. I can remember her pushing sales reps for better pricing all the time. Mrs. B maybe got more notoriety, but make no mistake, Mrs. K was definitely in her league. Got three quick Bev stories. First one was several years ago when Mom was still at home. Still had her mind, she was sharp. She called me one day and said, hey, some telemarketer called me and was asking me a bunch of questions about my date of birth and my social security number. And I said, well, Mom, what'd you say to him? She said, I told him to fuck off and I hung up on him. That was Mom's way, short and to the point. I inherited some of her vocabulary. Second story number 2. Seth and I are in our, this was, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6, 7 months ago. We had been in a room for a while, and I said, hey Mom, I said, I gotta get back to work. She said, well, where do you work? I said, Mom, I work at the store. She goes, well, what's the name of the store? I said, Mom, say Krasne Home Furnishings. She goes, well, what do you do there? I said, I sell furniture. She goes, that's the best job you could get? Some days I'd agree with her. Last story. Sharon and I last year were on vacation. We were in Jamaica. And I would check in on her every couple days. So I call her up and we're visiting. She goes, I want you to come to see me today. I said, well, Mom, you know, we're on vacation. We're a million miles away. That's not possible. She goes, no, you don't understand. I want you to come right now. I said, Mom, it's not going to happen. She said, well, who's running the store? And I said, I've got more than capable people running the store. She says, well, I not only want you to see me right now, but I want you in the store immediately. I said, well, Mom, it's not possible. She said, you're fired. Furthermore, she said, just because your last name is Krasne doesn't allow you to run the store. So don't think that it's yours just because of your last name. She was never afraid to put me in my place. There's a million stories that we could tell about Mom. I'm sure you have plenty of your own. She was a strong woman. Her strength will live on in all of us. Just some final comment. Mom was blessed to have lived a long and incredible life for over 99 years. I'm grateful for all the life lessons she has taught me and my sons and the rest of our family. Although she is no longer with us on earth, she'll always be with us in our hearts. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I take this one?
You just heard from the public speaker in our family. That would not be me. Dear Mom, this is a love letter. For many years, we were like two cats in a sack. You were a tough mom, and in fairness, I was a tough daughter. You were expecting an obedient, conforming daughter. That hasn't worked out too well. Your loyalty was fierce for your family, your friends, and the Mayo Clinic. You were pro-choice long before it became a mainstream conversation. You passed that on. You were a feminist of sorts. You ran the bridal French room in Brandeis before marrying. You worked side by side with Dad to build the store. And you and your pals worked really hard to get Lou Firestein elected as the first female president of the Fremont Golf Club. That was a really big deal because it was in the 60s. You set an example for me, and yet you signed your checks, Mrs. Abe Krasne, until the last one you signed. You wanted things done a certain way. Yours. You decided one year you wanted a garden. You were going to put it on the south side of the house between ours and Patty and Charlie May's. Sean's around here somewhere. That was a strip of about 20 feet before you hit May's driveway. Even when things were tough, Dad always had a lawn man. Dad was convinced we'd cut off our feet, which suited us just fine. Chrissy, while you were mowing, we were on our way to the pool. You and Dad had a big discussion about how far you could go and still leave enough room for the yard guy to get to the backyard. As I recall, Dad put a stake in the yard so there would be no misunderstanding. When the tiller guy finally showed up, he dug up the whole thing. We all knew there was going to be trouble. You kept saying the guy worked by the hour and you wanted to get your money's worth. We all waited for Dad to get home, including Patty and Charlie, whose back window overlooked the scene of the crime. When Dad got home, he took one look and said, if he'd have wanted a effing farm, he'd have bought one, got in the A-mobile and peeled out. That was the maddest we'd ever seen him. You were afraid he'd have the big one, so you sent Howard and I out to look for him with no luck. A few hours later, he came home and went to Howard's room, and that's where he slept for a while. It was like the Waltons at our house, Mom. Mom said, good night, Terry, good night, Howard, good night, Abe, and he promptly slammed the door shut. Patty and Charlie finally got the two together around their kitchen table and made peace. Your mother and her 5 sisters came over during the Russian pogroms. They had nothing. They learned the language, opened stores, and went about the business of creating better lives for themselves and their children. They sent you and your 10 first cousins to college. It is that determination that fueled yours. You were determined in all things. I'm very aware of the strength of the women. It runs through my veins as well, and I'm deeply grateful. You taught me that love has many faces. You showed love through your beautiful table settings and through your cooking and baking. You never showed up empty-handed. You always wanted to help, or direct. It was still love. You were gracious to those you liked. You didn't show your love to everyone. You were selective. People figured out fast if they passed your careful screening system that it was pretty big. If they didn't, they knew it. You were modest. You didn't like the limelight. You didn't need the recognition. You were a competitor in golf. your beloved bridge, and sails in the store. And you were strong. For Dad, for us, and for your friends. You could be leaned on, and you showed up, always. You are our matriarch, Mom. Your seat at the table can never be filled.
Thank you for sharing. What a song about memory. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete. When the ones who brought us wholeness now are gone. Yet the fullness of their life is part of what we have become, and their spirit in our memories live on. Hamakom yinachem etchem, Hamakom yinachem etchem, Hamakom yinachem etchem, b'toch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when we feel as though we walk the path alone. Now with memory to guide us, give us strength to find our way. Grant us courage to remember and to grow. Hamakom yinachem etchem, Hamakom yinachem etchem, Hamakom yinachem etchem, b'chol sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim, b'toch tziyar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Mark, I invite you to come share your poem.
Harriet Howard, you spoke beautifully about Mom and very eloquently. I have one story to tell that would have fit in with what my brother had to say. And that is when my mother was in college, she belonged to a sorority. And her sorority sisters said, there's a contest. It's going to be for the best legs at University of Nebraska, and you have to enter that contest. And she said, what? You've got to enter that contest. You could win, and it'd be good publicity for the sorority. And she entered that contest, and she won. So she had the best legs at the University of Nebraska by vote in those years. So I
got those too.
I'm not gonna, I won't get into any kind of a match with my brother. That I won't. My mother was a very strong woman. She was a wonderful friend, a wonderful relative. She had high values, and she was tough, very tough. Stories with my father, I mean, about what he ate and so forth and so on. She watched over all of that like a lark. And my brother talks about Mayo Clinic. My parents practically got their manicures there. It was a god to them. I'm going to read a poem that my dear nephew Adam Krasne wrote, and he asked me to read it. It's called Legacy of Love, Nanny's Skyscraper by Adam Krasne. In the city's heart, a skyscraper stands, built from love with Nanny's hands. Her legacy, a foundation strong, a structure where our roots belong. Each floor above, a generation new, stories told and values grew. With each brick she laid with care, her wisdom a treasure rare. Integrity, our guiding light, passed down from Nanny, shining bright. The Krasne name, a beacon proud, a heritage that speaks aloud. She taught us honesty to stand our ground. In kindness, let our hearts be found. To treat each soul with utmost grace and always show a smiling face. Higher and higher the building climbs, echoing through the changing times. Her spirit in each floor remains, in every joy, in every pain. Though Nanny's gone, her strength is near. In every corner, her voice we hear. A skyscraper reaching to the sky. With Nanny's love, we soar on high. May her memory be a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you to Howard, Terry, and Mark for sharing these beautiful memories. It is so clear that Beverlee was so many things, and at its core, she was a life well lived. She had her standards. She had her different names: Nanny, Mom, Mrs. Abe Krasne. And she had a way about her. When I was blessed to meet her just a few months ago in her home situation, she told me a little bit about the store. I'd never been to Abe Krasne Furniture before. I'd never been before. And it was such an honor to get to meet her, get to hear a little bit about her. It was clear that I wasn't necessarily, she didn't know who I was necessarily, and that's okay, we'd never met before. But she told me she was waiting for Howard to come visit. She told me she was waiting to be able to go home. And I know that she would be happy to be able to be home now. And to be, as she would say, Terry told me, from dust to dust, to be able to find that rest and that peace. Our poet Zelda wrote this beautiful poem, L'chol ish yesh shem. Each person has a name. We each have a name given by God and given by our father and mother. We each have a name given by stature and smile, given by our attire. We each have a name given by the hills and given by the walls. We each have a name given by the stars and given by our friends. We each have a name given by our sins and given by our yearnings. We each have a name given by our enemies and given by love. We each have a name given by celebrations and given by our work. We each have a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. We each have a name given by the sea and given by our death. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember her. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of the sun, we remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us, as we remember her. I invite you to rise if you're comfortable in doing so for El Malay Rachamim. In the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven, show source of mercy, forever enfold her in the embrace of your wings, secure her soul in eternity. Adonai, she is yours. May she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. We join together in Ma'ariv, in the mourner's Kaddish. If you would like to follow along, there are blue books in the chairs in front of you, the smaller blue books. You can find it on page 294. The books open from right to left, which is the Hebrew direction. There should be both Hebrew and transliteration to be able to follow along. Page 294. Together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei v'kol Beit Yisrael, v'adala v'bizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'barach le'alam umei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shmir Kudsha, Rifu, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, Tushvechata v'nechamata, Da'miran ve'alma v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom v'romav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. Shalom Ibrahim, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom. going to invite the family to leave before everybody else. Across the couch area is going to be the luncheon in the social hall. We invite you to join us. Thank you so much for remembering Beverlee.